Born and raised in Wells County, if you don't already know my guest today, I would be shocked. Married to his wonderful and super supportive wife, Ashley, they have two handsome boys and one little girl. Residing just outside of Austin, he has spent his life supporting his community in more ways than I can count. The last 10 years, he has been a staple in the banking business, but he has recently changed his path, and it is the current Associate Executive Director of Forgotten Children Worldwide. I have never met someone more passionate about people and community. It is my honor to introduce my guest today, Kody Kumfer.
Hey, thanks, Mike. It's an honor to be sitting here at Mike Lewis's table.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I mean all that, and I appreciate you being here for sure. Couple simple questions I want to ask you as people get to know you. I want to know if you are an iPhone or Android.
I'm an iPhone guy.
I love iPhone.
Yep.
And I love you. Thank you for being here. Tell me the last app that you downloaded.
Actually, Venmo was the last app I did. Yeah. So my brother-in-law said, "Hey," because we went on a Christmas gift together, and he says, "Hey, he said, you gotta download Venmo so I can pay you." And I was like, I've never used Venmo before, so I'm not sure I'm going to do it. And he says, "Well, you're not going to get paid till you download Venmo." So that's why I downloaded Venmo.
So you had to do that. So speaking about Venmo, there's all kinds of different cash apps. Obviously, PayPal.
Right.
If I'm saying this right, Zelle. Do you have any of the other ones?
I do not. I've never tried it. Never tried it because I used to have a bank phone. I wasn't downloading certain apps on the bank phone, and so now I have my own personal phone, and so I can download whatever I want now. So
Kody Kumfer vouches for Venmo, so everyone downvote Venmo. Okay, let's talk first local. Can you tell me what drives you to stay as active as you do in the community?
Yeah, I think just continue to figure out how do we continue to make Wells County a better place for our kids to be raised in, but also impacting people across our county. And so I enjoy just being actively involved because it helps me introduce me to more people, and then we can have a bigger impact on people's lives. So that's why I enjoy doing it. I think we have an awesome community. It's small. It gives us an opportunity to really learn who each other are and get to know each other. Because I think that's an important piece of why we live where we're at is how do you continue to encourage other people along the way.
Relationships, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that. And maybe so are you saying that it's your kids that helps drive you to do that, just to make a better
yeah,
place for
I mean,
them?
I want them to live in a community where they feel like they can get involved, and by coaching a baseball team or getting actively involved in Austin revitalization, and how can we make it a better place where they want to stay here long term, because at the end of the day, all of our kids are getting older, so how do we try to keep them in the community where we live so they can be close to family and close to each other, and I think we can continue to work together in Wells County to make it a place where our kids want to stay and continue to be sustainable.
Yeah. When I said in my introduction that I would be shocked if someone doesn't know you, because you are so visible in the community, in the area. My kids find it funny if we go on vacation somewhere else and someone notices me or talks to me in an airport or someone else. So you have to have that problem too, I would think.
Yeah, yep. It seems like I know a lot of people in the community, which I'm thankful for.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I enjoy that.
Community. What is your favorite local place to eat?
Local place to eat. It seems like we're a El Camino family. We go to El Camino quite a bit. Too, but we have a lot of great restaurants in Wells County. So
that's for sure.
Thankful for that. But yeah, we're probably El Camino goers pretty often.
Are you a regular?
Yep.
Do you sit down, they know what you want?
They might know my order. Yeah, they do actually.
That's good small town stuff right there. Okay, turn back the clock with me. As far as you want to go, I want to know where you came from and how you got to where you are today. Talk to me about school, work history, just anyway, how you got from there to here.
Yeah, so I went to Norwell High School, went to Northern Wells Community Schools as I went throughout my education. I graduated in 2008, and then I went on to Ivy Tech, and I was working at Howard Tool at the time when I started college and was working there, and then I transitioned to the banking world when I was 19 years old. Again, going to college, I was working part-time and then transitioned to full-time just after my freshman year of college. And so I did Ivy Tech for 2 years, and then I attended Trine University. There's a program where you could do 2 years at Ivy Tech, 2 years at Trine, and they were night classes, kind of accelerated program. So it gave me an opportunity to continue to work full time and then also do my education at night and still get done in 4 years. So that was the path that I took. Thankful for that. There was probably other opportunities I could have done, but I'm thankful I stayed local and continue to try to take care of college along the way. So,
So you first did Ivy Tech and then went on to Trine, and that was all night classes. You were already working in the banking industry at that time?
Yep. So I started a teller at Markle Bank in Fort Wayne. I did that for about 6 months, and then I transitioned to a loan support staff, which we did like loan documentation and doc checks and those type of things, just so I could. And that's when I started full time. So about 6 months after starting at the bank, I went over full time. And I was doing that in the Markle branch, and then I transitioned to a relationship banker. One of my coworkers was pregnant. I was helping out with her stuff, and then I went over to and worked in the Austin office. And that's where I feel like I got more involved in the Austin community at that point in time. There at that point, so that was kind of my transition into the banking world. And when I graduated, I just continued to progress through, and I'm thankful for that because it gave me an opportunity to see every area of the business and work through that. So,
so relationship banker, I think is perfect for your personality, but really it flows right on into your new position for sure. But let's talk about Forgotten Children Worldwide. Give me a general description of FCW and what it is that you now do for them.
Yeah, so FCW is about 3 things. We protect, empower, and love on kids. We work to teach them the love of their Heavenly Father, but also try to protect them from the hands of traffickers. But that's just providing some of the basic, simple needs for them. And so that's kind of a simple answer to what Forgotten Children does, and we can probably get into more of it later, but that's kind of the high-level point of it. And then for me, I came in as Associate Executive Director, really just can kind of continue to share the vision with people so they can learn more about Forgotten Children. And then we continue to bring awareness of what we do and what's happening across the world. But awareness also doesn't put food in somebody's belly. So it also takes dollars, and so that's part of what I'm doing as well, is continue to raise support so we can then take funds and send them over there and help out with the community. So
a relationship banker for children worldwide.
Yeah, bingo, that works.
I like it. Okay, so tell me, FCW of course has a building in Bluffton, but you're primarily overseas. What purpose does that building in Bluffton serve, and what goes on there?
Yeah, so we'd love to have you guys come in. We'd love to have you come in and kind of share what that does. But so how we kind of got the building, our founder, executive director, Matt Hartzell, he was a pastor at a local church when he was for 35 years, and he would drive by the building every day. It was an old movie gallery, and so he'd drive by it every day and pray like, hey, can we have this building? Can we have it for free? That would be great. And so he prayed that for several years, and then just so happened one day he was talking with somebody and brought it up. He said he hadn't told anybody except his family about him praying this prayer and just praying an audacious prayer. And so he brought up this person. Within a matter of weeks, they were able to raise $500,000 and buy the building. And so it's just really cool how that can come together and happen. And so what that building does, as you walk in, there's an interactive area, so you can kind of see what's going on in Africa, what's going on in India. There's some videos playing. We have a tuk-tuk sitting there in the front. And then as you walk in, we have the receptionist, and then we also have then the offices are in there. We have a conference room that's available to the community as well, and then we also have a balloon store. So there was a balloon store that was a party store, and they decided, hey, we're not going to do the party store anymore. So they had the idea of, hey, the balloons are kind of what makes the money and continues to go through. So how about is Forgotten Children interested? And we're like, so the board and Matt kind of thought about it, and they're like, hey, we'll actually come run it for you. And so that balloon store is open a couple days a week, and volunteers run it, and then the money actually just goes back into the organization. And so we also have balloons, so if you have a party or something going on that you need balloons for, Forgotten Children, we have the balloon store as well. Yeah. So that is also there. And then as you continue to navigate back, you have there's a packing center. And so it's the Matthew 25 Packing Center. So when we look at as one of the mandates that we have is continue to clothe the naked and continue to help others. And so we start the Matthew 25 Packing Center started so that was the first thing that Forgotten Children was doing, was sending clothes overseas. And so what we do with that, we have volunteers that come in and they sort through clothes. So people can drop off used clothes. There's pickup sites across the community and into Allen County, and they essentially take used donated clothing, and we sort through different seasons. So if like it might be girls winter or girls light winter, so it's like kind of a lighter weight, maybe long sleeves. And then you also have short sleeves, shorts, pants, those type of things for kids. And then we pack that in certain boxes, and then we send those over to India and Malawi in 40-foot containers. And so we continue to try to help others by sending these I think it's about 30,000 pounds of clothes over there. It's about 1,000 boxes of clothes. And so we send those over, and that's kind of what that next part of the building is for. And then the back part, we also have garage sale that we have once a month, which allows the local community come in and buy things at discounted prices. So people might donate clothes that might still have tags on them, or might be too big to send overseas to the kids. And so then we separate that, and then we can sell that at the local garage sale and make money. That will then go back to the organization to help maybe send clothes over to our partners in our communities over there.
So a couple things I picked up out of that. Balloons was the only thing that I wrote down on my list. I wanted to make sure I asked you about it if you didn't mention that. I had heard that about the balloons, and I had no idea. So I'm sure there's other people that don't either. The power of prayer is unbelievable sometimes, the way that those things work out. So Matthew 25 in the back, are you telling me that they really want primarily child clothes or child type size clothes?
Typically we're looking for medium size and down. Like adult medium.
I have
down.
none of those.
But sometimes if there's like suit jackets, even that might be a need, and so we'll send larger suit jackets over for some of the pastors or staff members that need to wear a suit once in a while. So it just kind of depends. So I would say if you have clothes, bring them in, and then we'll sort through them and work through that.
The garage sale portion that you were talking about, and I have not been to that either, so I'd love to come through. Is that things, or is that just clothes back there?
So actually we'll accept a lot of different things, and so there might be like small chairs or a table or something along those lines, or cups and dishes, knives, really a lot of different like kids' toys. That would be also another thing that would be sold back there. There's a variety of things. I just looked back there a couple weeks ago, and there was an overhead projector. So that was another thing that was out there. So it could be a variety of different things. We don't necessarily want something that is in terrible condition, because we don't want to sell junk. We want to sell nice things. We want it to be a value of somebody else, and so we're looking for quality stuff.
So it's phenomenal. You can take extra donated things, still create cash to help the situation. I know you have.
I think that's an awesome opportunity for people locally to get their hands on and come volunteer at Forgotten Children, because we have open packing. You can have, like, if your church youth group or your business wants to come and pack clothes, it's a great opportunity to make a global impact at a local organization.
And how often are you doing?
So there's several open packings. There's one in the evening, and I think it's on Tuesday nights. Don't quote me on that. And then there's also, like, sometimes during the day, there's some people that come back there and pack. I would just call into Forgotten Children and ask for that time. If there wants to be a specific team on a specific day, then we work with our packing coordinator Tom, and he will help organize that team for if a youth group wants to meet on on a Friday night or a Thursday night, we can kind of help coordinate some.
Give me an idea about that for people that are interested in organizing or doing something like that, either with their employer or their youth group or their church group, small group. When they would organize something like that, are they coming in for a 2-hour period of time, 4-hour period of time? What kind of workload are they looking at?
So it's whatever they feel like they want to commit to. So if they want a day that they want to do 3 hours, then we'll figure out a time to do it for 3 hours. But it just kind of depends on what they're interested in doing. There's some people that come in for an hour, half hour. If it's going to be on a non-regular packing day, I'd probably would like it to be a little bit longer to make it worth people's time and those type of things. But any time would be fine.
Any help is appreciated.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I want to jump to Uganda. I know that FCW has a big vision for Uganda. Can you talk to me about what goes on there with kids and what those plans that FCW has for them?
Yeah. So we have sponsored kids. One of the things that we do is we have a sponsored kid program. And currently at FCW we have around 500 kids, and about 250 of those kids are in Uganda. And so when we started this child sponsorship in Uganda, the kids were 5, 6, 7, which I think a lot of orphan care ministries started around those ages. Well, what happens is these kids can continue to get older, and so we want to come alongside and say, okay, how do we advance them into their adulthood well? Because you can feed a kid and give them an education for 18 years, but they could still fall into the hands of traffickers after that time frame. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, what is the best way to bring these kids and transfer them into adulthood to protect them long term? And so we started this new flagship ministry. It's called Kipindi Mpito, and that's Swahili for transition period. And so what we're doing is we're taking girls specifically right now because they're the most vulnerable, and bringing them through a one-year term program. And what we're doing during that 1 year, we're teaching them life skills, such as how to manage your money, hygiene, cleaning, cooking, but we're also teaching them a trade. And so what happens is they might get out of this program, but if they don't, or they might get out of like a sponsorship program and not have a skill, and so it makes it harder for them to be employed. And so what they do is they fall back into, they might get married at an early age, or they become pregnant, and they fall back into the whole poverty cycle. And so we want to take them and transition them well by giving them a skill. And so we actually have a tailoring program going on. And so they can actually, when they leave our program, they can take a test with the Uganda, it's called DIT, and they can get an actual certificate when they leave our program, if they pass the test, to be able to take that and go get employment somewhere. So it's something tangible that they have. They've passed the certification class, and so it's approved by the Ugandan government. It's a big deal, and we just had 12 girls take the test. We don't have the results yet to kind of see how they did, but they did take the test, and we're excited because it sounds like they did well. And then they can then go on and get an employment. The other option is we're starting a small business within that. So then they can make bags, and then we'll be able to sell these bags to the community, to schools, to be able to bring income back into the organization. And so there's actually 2 girls that are going to be working for this small business now that they have graduated the first year program. So during that year program, why do we choose a year? Well, it was because in Uganda there's something you call a gap year. And so when they're about 16 years old, 17 years old, they get a year off of school. It's pretty common in Europe and other countries. And so the problem with that gap year is that's the time where kids can go and essentially get in trouble. I think kids in the U.S. at 16 years old, if they had a whole year off not doing anything, I could see them getting in trouble. So they could maybe get married at an early age. They could get pregnant. They could alcohol, you name it, they could get into trouble because their caretaker or their parents are not home either, and so they're going out and getting in trouble. So we wanted to bring them in for that year, so it's not a year of just devastation to their life. We want it to be a year that transforms their life and continues to work through that. They also, a lot of these kids have a lot of trauma. We've done research on about 90% of the Ugandan girls have been sexually abused. And so there's a lot of trauma that goes along with that. So part of the program is also some counseling to bring them into a chaos-free area and give them some of that counseling. We want to be able to be a place where they can feel safe, where they can also learn the love of Jesus and know that their Heavenly Father's crazy about them. And so we're also doing discipleship every single day throughout that program as well.
The certificate is really a big deal then, though,
Yeah.
to them, because once they went through that program to a potential employer, they're already pre-qualified
Yeah.
at that point. So that's really a big deal to
Yeah,
them.
and these girls may go back and finish schooling, or they might say, hey, you know what, I'm ready to just go into the workforce. And so it gives them a couple different avenues. So if they do go into school and they finish school and they still can't find a job, they still have the certificate that they can hang on to, and it will help them be more employable when that time comes.
The things that I have heard you talk about and that I know that happens to children over there is unbelievable, and we being here in our country can't even fathom what goes on there. But that's not the only thing. Clean water and simple health care are things that we take for granted, where over there it's truly a luxury.
Yeah.
I mean, totally a luxury. What plans does FCW have for that, and how can regular people get involved or assist in something like that?
Yeah, so I guess I'll share a little bit with you about what does clean water even look like over there. So a lot of the people that are carrying water are girls, are young girls. It's very, very seldom do you see a man carrying a water can, and these water cans could weigh 25 pounds. And we actually have one if you want to come test it out in the front room of when you walk into the FCW building. But so these kids, they're probably walking on average 6.5 miles, which is or to up to 10 miles a day every day, just to go get water, to bathe, to cook with, to drink. And this water is typically dirty water. It might have a lot of bacteria in it, and so it's like, okay, how do we figure out, how do we come alongside these families and give them another opportunity? So there's been we've dug wells for families, and which actually is more communities, and so it's just been really neat to come alongside them and say, hey, there's more opportunity. We've done that in Malawi and Uganda and several other places where we've put in boreholes to give them a chance to have clean water.
Mm-hmm.
So different ways that people can get involved is really just kind of continued. If you want to go check out our website as a good opportunity to kind of think about, okay, what is Forgotten Children doing? And there's a lot of videos on there that you can watch and continue to learn about. You can reach out to somebody at the organization, but a lot of it is just praying and figuring out, okay, God, break my heart for what breaks yours, and just figuring out, okay, where do you see me fitting into this picture of our life? Because there's people that have to walk miles and miles to get fresh water. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not very fresh. It's just dirty water, and typically they're walking barefoot for miles and miles, and so it's extremely hard on them. So water is a big deal, because they may walk 6 miles and they walk back and they don't feel good because, one, they're sick. Mm-hmm. Because of the water that they're drinking. And so it's just, water is an important thing that a lot of people we take for granted, especially here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. People can get involved, though, and I know they'll check out the website, but even sponsoring a child, that's a possibility.
Yep.
And you get to see that child that you're sponsoring and see their...
Yeah, so we do have child sponsorship, and so you typically... You can find those kids on our website if you're interested in sponsoring a child. It has a nice biography give you a little bit of background on them. Mm-hmm. So it's a great opportunity to really invest in a kid's life. I know it's been really, really cool for my personal family to sponsor our girl, because it allows your kids to have their worldview open, because you learn about their culture, you learn about some of the struggles that they're going through. And these kids, they have a lot of the same struggles that we do, but also they have a lot more struggles. Mm-hmm. And so how do you learn how to navigate through that, and just the impact that this $38 a month will give them an education. And so now their mom can take their other money and do something else for maybe for their entire whole family. So it doesn't just impact that kid, but it impacts their entire family.
Now you mentioned that $38 a month for that kid. What is that in relationship to their money? Like, what is a typical day's wage or something? Can you give me that answer?
Right. So I would say a typical day's wage is $1.50 to $2. But so like for every U.S. dollar, it's about $3,700 or 3,700 shillings in Uganda specifically. But I mean, most of the world are living on $1 to $2 a day.
Right.
And so to put that a little bit in your perspective, that $38 that we're sending is going a lot to education for that child, because a lot of families can't afford education, so they might have to choose. If they have 3 kids, they might have to choose, hey, 1 kid can go to school versus all 3 of my kids. And so how do you come alongside them and partner with that child? And then you're going to get a letter from that child every like twice a year. And then you also see that, hey, they're actually getting medical care. They're getting dental, vision, and medical checkups on a regular basis. And that's not something that's common over in other countries. And so it allows them to hopefully do some preventative care for their health. They also do a lot of discipleship. We give mosquito nets typically to our children, and so you get a holistic report card back as well to make sure that they're being taken care of spiritually, mentally, and physically on a regular basis. Because at the end of the day, we want them to be taken care of, not just from a spiritual side or just from a physical side. We want all of that to help be taken care of. And so as a sponsor, you can do that, and you can change the trajectory of that kid's life. We've had several kids go on and get their master's degree, and that's just really cool to see how they can go to university because of the sponsorship and the sponsors coming alongside them and saying, hey, I'll be an advocate for you and take care of you. So you can make that difference if you're interested.
Being a kid sponsor, yeah, that's less than $1 a day. That's less, or it's a little over $1 a day, but it's less than a cup of coffee for us, and that could really impact that child's life. We're just over a year into our new normal because of COVID. Talk to me about how COVID has affected or impacted FCW, or if it has. How's that?
Yeah, I really want to kind of talk about how COVID has affected maybe our partners a little bit, and how it's affecting the girls around the world and the kids around the world, because they had a year where they really didn't have a lot of schooling because they weren't doing a lot of e-learning and those type of things. So there was a year off there. And so again, it comes down to these girls maybe 14, 15 years old, and their parents may force them to get married at an early age, or they become pregnant and now they can't take care of their child. And so the orphan crisis is going to continue to rise during this COVID season. You're also seeing more isolation, just like you are here in the States. You're seeing suicide rates go up. So, but also there's a lot of starvation happening because of it, because there's a lot of even jobs across in other countries that they're not able to continue on their job either. And so things were shut down because of COVID. And so there's a lot of hungry people. There are hungry people here in the U.S., but there's actually starving people in Uganda and India and Malawi and the other countries that we serve. And so it's like, just thinking through on, COVID has just had such an impact on our world, and not just around here. We've been extremely blessed. COVID has affected the organization, but you know what? We're thankful that people continue to provide and roll up their sleeves and help support the organization. We've been thankful.
Is that my next question was asking what the biggest challenge is for FCW. So is it money and partnerships, or is it dealing with locals that don't want things to change? Because I'm sure there is a profit for some bad people over there for what you're trying to deal with. So what battles do you see being dealt with, or is it hard to say with COVID putting a halt to things?
Yeah, I think for us, there's just a mountain of a need. And so how do we have more people come and link arms with our organization and continue to help us continue to be advocates for those people? Because there's such a huge need that we can continue to raise awareness, but again, raising awareness doesn't put food in the belly, or it doesn't send a kid to school. And so having people roll up their sleeves and say, hey, I want to support forgotten children. I want to come alongside you and help you with your mission because we believe in you and we trust you. And I think that's what we really want to look at to say, okay, how do we continue to have people come alongside us and say, hey, we're excited about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would love to share the vision with people and share, like, hey, these are the awesome things that we're doing, and we would love for you to come alongside us. But also sharing, like, if this is something you're excited about, we'd love to get you involved. If it doesn't really get you excited, then let's find something that will get you excited, because I think living a life, continue to have a life of significance is important. I think so many people want that. And so how do we do that? Because for me, like, I want to be able to tell stories. Mm-hmm. And for me, because I think at the end of the day, like, I don't want just more stuff. I want more stories, because stories are what people are going to share after I'm gone. Because I don't think people are going to talk about my stuff that I have when I'm gone. Mm-hmm. I think it's more going to be the stories that I've created, and hopefully the impacts the impact on lives that we have. And I think when you look at how Jesus lived his life, I mean, he was a guy that told parables and stories all the time. And so how do we continue to be more focused on, hey, what stories are we going to be able to tell? And how do we impact people from that? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I want to be about, is continually developing some of those stories.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So backing up just a little bit, I know you have personally spent some time in Uganda. So tell me a story that impacted you, yep, or that you would like to share with people, or maybe a story that was told to you by someone else that you personally knew. Let people get a better idea of really what's going on.
Yeah, there's probably a couple stories here that I'd like to share, but the first one being when I was in Malawi, and I was riding in a bus, and I'm just seeing kids that were young kids, probably 4, 5, 6 years old, walking along the street barefoot, and I'm like thinking, okay, where's their parents? Where's somebody to watch over them? And as I continue to think about it, I'm like, they don't have anybody to watch over them, and they don't have anybody to protect them. And I think back to my kids, my daughter and my son and my 2 sons, and thinking, man, what if those were them walking along the streets by themselves? And I sure hope that somebody would come alongside them and be an advocate for them. I want somebody who has the resources to be able to make an impact on that child to come alongside them. And that really changed my world, because I'm thinking, what if I was in their shoes, and wouldn't I want somebody to help me? And so that's why I want to continue to find ways. How do I help these kids that don't have an opportunity, and how do we give them that opportunity? I think also, as we look at it, you think about what's going on in India. There's just a lot of darkness over there. You have like in India, you have what they call Devadasis, and so it's a child. Typically, they get 4 or 5. They get dedicated to this goddess. It's called Yamala, and so they dedicate her at 4 or 5 years old, and then she becomes, once she matures and she becomes maybe 13, 14, 15 years old, she essentially is dedicated, and she's broken in for the first time at the temple, and so she essentially becomes a sex slave. And they're trapped in this lifestyle for years and years, until they're pretty much discarded at the age of 30, 31 years old. And they're essentially, the only thing that they have is they're just selling their body at that point in time. And that's really difficult for people to understand and see, but that's something that's what their mom did, that's what their grandma did. And so how do we as forgotten children come alongside them and break that cycle? Mm-hmm. So there's actually, one of our partners has a girl empowerment program right down the road from a temple, and so we're trying to break that cycle so this child doesn't have to go back into the sex slave trade and be sold into that sex slave world. And so it's just really cool to see how we can come alongside these girls and change their lives. And so what we don't understand sometimes is how could you sell your child? Mm-hmm. But there's so much desperation because of the poverty that's what happens, is that's the only option, or they have to pay for a dowry for their other child to be married, and that's your only opportunity. And so how do we come alongside those organizations and help them? And I think that's what continues to keep me motivated to want to do more and want to continue to be involved in this organization, because I think we can make a huge impact in so many kids' lives and so many families' lives by doing that. So
that it sounds crazy to even hear things like that. I mean, it sounds like that they're so used to that they almost find that normal.
Yeah.
And where we would be appalled at that, and we can't even imagine selling our child away to benefit the family at this point. So
yeah,
it really is.
Because when your belly is hungry and you don't have any other options, you're just in desperate mode, and it's really difficult to continue on and try to. It's hard to make those really tough decisions.
Mm-hmm. I was about to close this up. Tell everyone how to get a hold of you and FCW, or how they could help, and anything else you want to add.
Yeah. So you can reach me at 260-265-0992, or my email is Kody@forgottenchildren.org. I'd love to have lunch with you, have coffee with you, and talk to you about more about the organization, but how to get involved. But I think at the basic level is, like I said earlier, just figuring out, what do you want me to do in my life? Where do you want me to be at? And just ask yourself, hey, maybe I can take this next step. And so I'd encourage you to do that, and we'd love to grab coffee with you sometime and do that. So,
Kody Kumfer, get to know this guy.
Thanks, Mike. So another way that people can get involved is get involved financially with the Compendium Pito project that we're working on. And so right now we're looking at raising some money for that, and so we're looking for 3-year pledges, and we'd love for you guys to come alongside us and work with us on that project. And so if you want to learn more information about Compendium Pito, again, contact me, and I'd be happy to sit down with you and explain more about it, and if that's something you're passionate about. So thanks again.
Okay.
Would you rather have your face printed on money or have your own small town named in your honor?
Oh, gosh, either one is phenomenal idea. Money or a small town name. I'm a small town guy. I want to go with small town.
Hey,
I would love
I'd be there with you
to live. I can't decide, though, if it should be Louisville or Lewistown. I'm not sure. Either way, I'll be happy.
Louis Village.
Louis Village. I like your style. Would you rather wear a monitor that beeps when you're lying, or beeps when you're attracted to someone?
I feel like I'm a pretty honest guy, so I'll go with the lie one.
The lying. Your monitor would only beep to Ashley, regardless. I know this.
True.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey. Thanks.